Yeah.
Because that's what I liked, is he didn't be like, oh, I'm going to make him a nice, sweet little boy, and he got fucked up. He's like, no, he was like fucking killing like animals, and he was like 4 in that movie.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing really that. And I like that, and I like that fact that you don't have Hostel. That actually, I think Hostel has completely taken a lot of stuff from the 80s, a lot of stuff from Italian films.
And a lot of stuff from Miike.
A lot of stuff from Miike, but what he did was that he actually...
Because he said that his biggest influence for Hostel was Audition.
Right. But here again, he actually succeeds in humanizing the victims. That's actually something that was never done.
Yes.
Because in all those 80s movies, yeah, it would show you scenes of them, like, you know, like playing around and, you know, fucking...
Which is what's ironic about, like, what Joss Whedon has said, which is about the supposed torture porn genre, is he goes, it doesn't deal with human life and treats its characters badly, and treats them like, you know, human life like it's a commodity or something that...
No, I don't think Hostel did that at all.
But that's... ironically coming from the man who seems to kill off every one of his favorite characters.
Well, I mean, he kills off everybody.
Yeah. Which is why he's a fucking hypocrite.
Well, he doesn't do it in a particularly gory way.
But it's still, he does it in emotionally draining, screws up, you know,
that's why. Now, I liked Hostel 1 because it basically, you get to know these people. More than it's just like, oh, they're some randy, like, 17 to 25-year-olds.
Which it feels like in the beginning, but then it becomes so much more.
But even then, it starts going away after, like, 10 minutes into the movie. You start getting to actually know them.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was talking about the previous formula of what counted as a slasher film, you didn't get to know them. Yeah, you got to know them in the sense of, oh, she's hot, she's got big tits, he's a jerky football player, and he's going to stick your dick in her at least sometime before he gets a machete in the back of his head.
Yeah.
And you don't have that. So I think that actually now, weirdly enough, is probably the best time for horror. So they've taken the stuff that they learned from the Hammer films that was later adopted. Hammer and you could actually really honestly include...
the Italian...
The Italian and Roger Corman.
Yeah. Roger Corman, Italian filmmakers,
and
Hammer
were kind of everything that led to the 80s horror.
And then taking that and then combining that with other later sort of international horror filmmakers, because like Miike. I mean, Miike is such a huge influence
what I find funny is that Jonathan Demme is considered to be really liked by people that are in the horror genre. Which, you know, really a movie he did that you could loosely consider horror was Silence of the Lambs. And I think that was what I was saying was what was good about Hostel and what's that other movie I saw recently? Not Hostel, like Halloween. Anyway, it was really good. Like Saw, even.
Or at least like the first couple of Saw movies.
I pretty much when I say Saw, I usually just mean
the first one, first two.
Because the second one was really good too. The third one already went downhill, so I never bothered to watch 4 or 5 or 6. Which appears to be returning, actually. What destroyed horror in the 80s. It now appears that Sequalitis, that dreaded, terrifying disease, is actually returning. Because you look at Saw. Saw was pretty much a revolutionary film. I mean, it was, you know, it took a lot from, like, Miike and Chan-Woo Park. Somewhat. I mean, it had, obviously, they were like them.
Mm-hmm.
But Saw was its own film.
Yeah.
Nothing like anything else.
Yeah.
And then, it's now 5 films later.
But I still think you could probably turn it around.
Possibly. But they even did that a couple times on Friday the 13th. They even did that with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And you have like 14,000 terrible films. Look at Wes Craven's.
Yeah.
I mean, Nightmare was possibly the best Nightmare on Elm Street film.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying it was probably even better than the first one. You know, like Wes Craven and all them were liberals of John Carpenter. So to them it was an exaggeration. Now, actually, a lot of the guys, I mean, like canon pictures and stuff actually were pretty conservative. So in one case, it's almost like John Carpenter were taking what they saw, conservatism to its, I guess you would almost say, to in their mind, its logical conclusion.
Yeah.
Which is, you have, okay, because I mean, who do they kill? You don't see them killing, the pretty little girl, but who is wearing a nice long dress and is obviously, she's attractive, but is obviously very chaste and modest, and is, praying and repeating her rosary. Now, that girl might get killed in a Hammer film, which is actually where the difference lies.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that actually the chaste girl is actually more likely to get killed in a Hammer film?
Because, of course, Dracula would be like, oh, virgin.
I must defile her.
Whereas that person would probably not get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, even in Halloween.
Yeah.
You have Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Nancy, I think it is. Nancy Strode.
Nancy Strode. She doesn't get killed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say she's a virgin, but she's obviously depicted as being much more...
Well, Rob Zombie said that if he had depicted her the way she was in the original movie, in his movie, she'd practically be a nun.
Well, yes, but that would be exaggerating it for now. To make a point. Whereas at that time, there was freer sex, yet at the same time people weren't as slutty. So now girls are so much more sluttier, the girls that actually are against it are actually more conservative, in case you haven't noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh my god, I can't even, show you a little bit of my legs, because that might cause you to have feelings of lust.
Yeah.
It's like, because there's the girl over there rubbing her tits on your windshield. Whereas, obviously, though, she is depicted as being much more innocent than her friend.
Yeah.
Very much so. And the fact that it seems like Michael Myers has a hard time killing her, because that's what I never noticed, is the divine intervention. Whenever what I guess you could just call the supernatural, because I don't really like the idea of slasher characters, because in most cases, with the exception of movies like Maniac and Henry the Portrait of a Serial Killer, and movies that are actually trying to be more realistic, the slasher character is...
Even Michael Myers
is not just a serial killer. He is obviously endowed with some sort of supernatural power.
Because, in the original ones, when you had the guy who was obviously Satan in the later sequels, who was helping him out.
Who, Michael Myers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was that guy who was in all black, who obviously was supposed... Yeah.
Well, who was actually introduced in Seasons of the Witch, though it had nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Yeah. That's the connection.
Because it was him. Well, I didn't want to say he was Satan. He was a demon of some sort, or some supernatural force.
Right.
And that's that fact. And the fact that they actually depicted him, and now that you mentioned it, actually we get a better understanding. Because now that they actually depicted him was the person that was actually killing everybody in the town in Seasons of the Witch.
Yeah.
He put a curse on the town. He actually was depicted as being this kind of really conservative type person. Like, he even was in church in a couple scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, it's almost like there's this equation that they're making of evil